Well, hello, UCSB community. You're about to meet with the Director of the Ombuds Office, Caroline Adams, as she has a conversation with Associate Ombuds David Rasch about a graduate student who's having some communications issues with their advisor. This scenario is fictional.
Hi, David.
Hi, Caroline.
So you've been the Associate Ombuds at UCSB for about 2 years, and you were the sole Ombuds at Stanford for about 15 years. So you've seen a lot of grad students, right?
I've seen many graduate students over the years, yes.
So you're pretty familiar with the dynamics between grad students and their advisors.
Yes, in fact, it's issues connected to that. That's the number one reason that graduate students come to the Ombuds office, that there's a power imbalance in that relationship with the advisor that's considerable, and students are very aware and often feel vulnerable about just the impact that that relationship has on their academic success and their future career.
Yeah, and that kind of stress can cause people to really not see what their options are and to feel trapped. But the Ombuds is a place where people can help see that there are choices that they have. Do you think you could help me go through a problem and think about some?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
All right, so I just talked to a fourth-year PhD named George. He's begun several projects, but his advisor keeps then giving them to other grad students and postdocs. Obviously, he needs these projects to get published, but every time he talks to Professor Randall, is his advisor, Randall gets kind of belligerent. He loses his temper, he slams doors, threatens to cut off funding, and he also criticizes George and calls him ungrateful.
Yeah.
And now since this shelter in place has come in, George hasn't heard anything from Randall, and he's walking on eggshells. He doesn't want to make him mad by, harassing him, but he knows he needs these publications for the job market. And now with the lab closure, he's just really worried about getting set back.
Yeah. Right. Well, you mentioned Professor Randall's anger. Do you have any sense that George is in physical danger?
I asked him about that, and he said there wasn't any violence or threats to his safety, nothing like that.
All right. So it sounds like George is understandably concerned about his academic progress and also has some very challenging personality dynamics going on with his advisor. He's probably quite anxious and frustrated. If he hasn't already done it, George could experiment with being more direct and assertive. It's not easy to do that with an advisor, but if he could develop some skills to do that, and if the advisor is receptive to a conversation, sometimes that can help. Often graduate students are intimidated or fearful about asking for what they need, so it's challenging.
Yeah, but we do offer communication coaching at the Ombuds office, so we could help George plan out how to have this conversation. We could even have him think about what would be a reasonable plan he could propose regarding his research direction and his time to degree.
Yeah, absolutely. And if direct communication doesn't work, he can think about the usefulness of having a facilitated discussion with Professor Randall. So that would be a meeting in which the Ombuds would be an impartial third party who would come in to assist with the conversation and try to promote mutual understanding and help them come to agreements about moving forward that they're both comfortable with.
Yeah, George and I could talk about the pros and cons of this. The nice thing is it would be safe, off the record. We wouldn't have to involve any other faculty like a chair or administration or any other offices. And this could be done remotely. We could do a video conference.
Yes, Zoom and there's other platforms work very well for doing that. And George can also see if there's channels within the department that might help, such as a faculty graduate advisor or a department chair. There's always some sense of being careful when you're raising an issue up. But if it seemed like there are helpful people in the environment, he could access them. And sometimes an advisor who dismisses his students' ideas will listen to his colleagues' suggestions.
Yeah, I definitely want George to consider the risks and benefits of this carefully. He would want to consider departmental politics and friendships, policies, different personalities, and we could actually provide him with a broader understanding of the context.
Yes, right. And even if he doesn't want to necessarily involve other faculty in the dispute, it's usually wise for doctoral students to develop strong connections with other members on the faculty in the department who can offer different feedback and perspectives than those of the primary advisor. And in addition, if George ever wanted to change advisors, it helps if other faculty are familiar with his work.
Changing advisors, that seems kind of drastic. Do you think the department would support that, and like would somebody else take him on?
Yeah, George has been in the same department for 4 years with his advisor, and understandably he'd probably want to finish with that advisor if he could. Changing advisors often involves challenges such as delaying graduation, finding funding, finding another advisor, and the delicate process of informing his current advisor without damage to egos, research projects, and his future career.
Yeah, well, this is definitely something that he and I could walk through together, kind of map out the pros and cons. I can tell him a little bit about the grad divs process for changing advisors as well.
George also has the option of just letting things be. If he feels he's being treated in an unfair, inconsiderate way, he may tolerate that, and just to preserve the status quo for a limited time if it would result in completing the degree and getting a good recommendation. It will be important for George to take care of himself if he chooses this approach, and have some sort of ongoing support system, friends, counselors, ombuds, etc., for himself, because the stress of unresolved conflict with an advisor is considerable.
Well, those all sound like good options. Of course, I'll leave it up to George because he knows what his priorities are and his risk tolerance. The other thing I would want to do is help George understand the advisor's perspective. There are two sides to every story. So,
yes.
Well, I appreciate your expertise on this, David.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad George knew about the Ombuds office and felt safe to talk to you in the confidential setting. And I hope this situation comes to a good resolution.